Hello learners, how are you doing? We thank God. We are back again for our mathematics lesson. Before we start today's lesson, I want us to revise the previous topic. Last week, we have learned about fractions. We have learned how to add like fractions. First of all, we learned what is a like fraction or what are like fractions. We have said that like fractions are fractions that are having the same denominators but different numerators, and we have learned how to add them. We said that if you are adding like fractions, we keep the denominator and we add the numerators. If there is anything to simplify, we simplify the final answer into the simplest form. That is what we have learned last time. Today, we are going to look at fractions again, but our objective will be to find the equivalent fractions. So today we are going to learn about equivalent fractions. Let's look at this first. You need a paper. You have to take a paper with you, a pencil or a pen or anything about color. Let's look at this. This is your paper. I am having mine here. Take yours. Fold the paper into two equal parts. Fold it into two equal parts. As you are done, shade one portion. I have colored mine. You can use the same. Okay. This is a part. This is the whole page, is not so? And then the part you have shaded is called, the whole thing will be a part of a whole, a part of the whole paper, is not so? So we have learned earlier on that is what a fraction is. So which fraction have you represented over here? This one represents half. This half of the page or half of the paper. Okay, or someone will say 1 out of 2. They are all the same. So what we will do next is we'll keep the paper, we'll fold it back. Okay, the one that you have shaded, fold it back into two equal parts. Now we are going to fold it again into another equal part. So now when you open it, open your paper back. After opening, you will see 4 different divisions or portions. 1, 2, 3, 4. But this time around, we are no more shading. We are keeping the shaded portions. We are no more shading. We are no more coloring. Okay. So here, let's try and count the shaded portion. 1, 2, out of what? 4. That is the fraction we have just represented. 2 out of 4. The same paper that we have folded, let us fold this one back. Let us fold this one back. After folding this one, then we'll add another one again. We'll fold it again into another equal part. So you see that the number of shaded portion, the shaded portion over here is the same as here, is the same as here, just that the divisions are not the same. So we are now having 1, 2, 3, 4 out of what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 4 out of 8. That is what we just represented. But what I want you to observe right now is, look at the paper. We are using the same paper. We are using the same shaded portions, but we are getting different fractions. Are the fractions different or they are the same? Are they equal? Per what we have done, we will say that these fractions are equal. These fractions are all equal. Why? Because it didn't change the paper. It's the same size of paper and the same shaded portion. We are just dividing, we are just breaking them down. Okay, so that is the idea behind equivalent fraction. But what we have done right now, I want you to write down or say something. Give me a definition. How can you explain or define equivalent fractions per what we have done right now? Write it down. Don't be afraid to make mistake. Now let's look at it. It's on the screen. All of you read. Okay, equivalent fractions are fractions that name the same number. It's the same as what we said earlier on. We are just saying that equivalent fractions are equal fractions. We said they name the same number, which means it is saying the same thing. They are all the same. Okay, that's why we call them equivalent fractions. So let's look at this about equivalent fraction. The numerator and the denominator of a fraction must be multiplied by the same non-zero whole number in order to have equivalent fractions. So that one will develop it later, we'll expand it later, we'll talk about it. They are just to tell us that if you want to get any equivalent fraction, you can multiply the fraction that you already have, okay, by non-zero whole number, by a whole number, but the whole number shouldn't be 0. Okay, so starting from 1, 2, 3, 4 to get equivalent fractions. Quickly, let's look at how we can find equivalent fraction. How to find equivalent fractions. 1. You can make equivalent fractions by multiplying or dividing both top and bottom by the same number. Go through it again. A fact about equivalent fractions: you only multiply or divide, never add or subtract to get an equivalent fraction. For us to get an equivalent fractions, please do not add or subtract. We are only using multiplication and division, okay, to get fractions that are equal or equivalent. Look at another fact. Only divide when the top and bottom stay as whole numbers. Please, the fractions, we only divide them, okay? If you want to divide the numbers at the top and the bottom, make sure they are all whole numbers. Don't divide any decimal number, okay? Okay, so this one will be simplified or it will be summarized in the next activity. Watch out. Activity 1. Let's look at the activity 1. Find the first 5 fractions that are equivalent to 2. Let's look at how we can apply what we have learned today in finding the equivalent fractions. So the question here is to find the equivalent fractions, the fractions that are equivalent to 2/3. So we are writing our 2/3. 2/3 will be the same as what? Okay, don't forget, we said that we can make equivalent fractions by multiplying or dividing. By looking at this fraction here, okay, it is in its simplest form, so we cannot divide, we rather multiply. So the first number that we use to multiply here is 1, which is non-zero whole number. But if I should multiply 2/3 by 1, I'll get the same 2/3. So what you will do is that you will use the second one, which is 2. Okay, 2 times 2. And they said whatever we use at the top should be used at the bottom. So do the bottom one, which is 3. We multiply by the same 2. Then our fraction 2/3 times now we are using 3. I should also multiply the denominator by 3. What is it giving us? Let's move to the next one. 2. This time around, I want to multiply by 4. 4. And the denominator must also be the same as what? 4. We should multiply by 4. Now, the next one will be 5. 2 times 5, and then 3 times 5. Whatever you do at the top, do it at the bottom. The next one will be the 5th, okay, equivalent fraction, which is 2 times 6, and then the denominator also will do the same. We do the same for denominator. 3 times 6. Let me write it too. Very good. Then what do you think will be our answers? So 2/3 will be the same as 4, because we are multiplying this one. 2 times 2, what do you get? 4. And then 3 times 2, what do you get? 6. That's good. This one will give us what's at the top here. 2 times 3, what is the answer? 6. And then 3 times 3, what is the answer? 9. Then the next step, we do the same thing. 2 times 8 is what? 9. Then what about 3 times 4? 12. This will give us This will give us 2 times, as you see, 2 times 5 is what? 10. Okay. Let's go back because there's a problem here. Here we are saying that 2 times 4 is 8, not 9. Is 8. And then 3 times 4, we said it is 12. So from there we have our 2 times 5, okay, will give us 10, and then 3 times 5 will give us 15. So from there we move to the last one. The last one is 2 times 6. You see it? It is what? 12. And then 3 times 6 is what? 18. That is what we were looking for. 18. Very good. As you see, As you can see, 2/3, they say, is equal to 4 out of 6. It's the same as 6 out of 9. It's the same as 8 out of 12. It's the same as 10 out of 15. And then 12 out of 18. These are what we call equivalent fractions or equal fractions. And if you count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these are the first 5 fraction that are equivalent to 2/3. Thank you very much. Here's what we just did. Okay, now let's look at the activity number 2. Activity number 2 is saying that we should multiply or we should find the first 4 fractions that are equivalent to 4 out of 12. This one is different from what we did right now. Pay attention. You see that here we are having 4 out of 12. You can see that 4 can be divided by a number, and 12 can also be divided by that same number. Is it not so? So here we can start by using division. So let's go. 4 out of 12. The first one, I can see that it's possible to divide 4 by 2. So 4 divided by 2. We said that we should do the same thing at the top. Whatever we've done at the top, we should do it at the bottom. Don't forget that we already said that multiplication or division can be used. That's why I'm using division here, because I want to get the lowest ones. Okay, now 12 also will be divided by the same number, which is what? 2. So let's move to the next level. So here I can also divide 4 by 4, and 12 also can be divided by 4. So I will use the same thing. 4 divided by 4, and then 12 divided by 4. The next one, I can decide to continue with multiplication, because if I should continue with division, it will not be possible. So now 4 times 1 will give me the same number here. So I will just use 2. 4 times 2, and then 12 also times 2. Then I can now use 3. 4 times 3, and then 12 times 3. Now what do we get? 4 out of 12 is the same as what? When we divide 4 by 2, what do we get? Okay, 2. And then 12 by 2 give us what? 6. Very good. Then the next one, we'll get 1. When we divide 12 by 4, we'll get what? 3. The next one, 4 times 2 give us what? 12. And then 12, we are here. 12 times 2 give us what? 24. I'm saying that when we multiply 4 by 2, you are getting 8. You are getting 8. And then 12 times 2, we are getting 24. Then the last one, 4 times 3 is giving me 12, and then 12 times 3 will give me 36. You can do it. 3 times 2 is 6, and then 3 times 1 is what? 3. Very good. So as you are seeing on the screen, 4 out of 12 is the same as 2 out of 6, is the same as 1 out of 3, is the same as 8 out of 24, and 12 out of 36. All these fractions are called equivalent fractions or equal fractions. Congratulations, you did very well to arrive to this particular level. This is what we just did together. So we have arrived at the end of our lesson. What have you learned today? Today we have learned about fractions, and our objective was to find equivalent fraction. And we said that equivalent fractions are fractions that name the same number. Fractions that name the same number. And how do we find equivalent fraction? We said that equivalent fractions can be found, or we can make equivalent fractions by multiplying or dividing both top and bottom by the same number. And I drew your attention that you only multiply or divide, never add or subtract to get an equivalent fraction. And also I said that you should only divide when the top and the bottom stay as whole numbers. If they are whole number before we divide. Okay, nice one. And we did activity 1 and activity 2. I'm leaving the rest with you. What will be the next topic? The next topic will be addition of a whole number and like fractions. Take your textbooks and go and prepare for this particular topic, which will be very exciting. Okay, now we can't learn something without practicing. For that matter, let's look at this short assignment. Question number 1A. Find the first 5 fractions that are equivalent to 1, 3 out of 5, 6 out of 10. Find the missing number. Look at this one. I was writing an equivalent fraction. Okay, a fraction that is equal to 1 out of 4, and I got 8 at the bottom, meaning I multiplied the 4 by something before I get this. So as we said earlier, we should multiply the top also by the same numbers, you know. So what do you think will be at the top? Start work. Do the same thing for question 4 and question 5. Thank you very much for paying attention from the beginning to the end. See you next time. Bye bye.